Alright everybody, I hope my video today finds you doing well, and as promised in our first video, I wanted to follow up and give a recap on how our service went. So this past Sunday, being the first Sunday of the year, was the first time that we've actually done service with this new format. It was a complete change. And to give you an idea of how it went, in all honesty, I don't want to over-exaggerate this in the least. I want to be completely honest. It truly exceeded all of my expectations. From the time I woke up Sunday morning getting ready for service, I felt such a divine peace, like just knowing that what we were doing is pleasing God. We're pleasing God by getting back to doing things His way. And I felt that all Sunday morning. Then when I got to church, Elder Franco came up to me after service and said that he felt the same way prior to service beginning, that when he walked into the sanctuary, it was just, you know, a huge smile on his face, and you just had that divine peace, like we're doing the right thing here. We're pleasing God. We're getting back to the ways of God. So to give you an idea of how the actual service itself went, we opened up with prayer, and nobody was leading prayer. There wasn't any elder praying over everybody, as is typical in a lot of church structures and church services. We just gave everybody the invitation to pray. And so with that, everyone began to pray, and I mean pray fervently and sincerely, and you could feel the presence of God just literally being enthroned in the praises and the prayer of His people. And then so for a few moments, I don't know what the time amount was, I'm guessing maybe 5 to 10 minutes, we prayed and just worshiped God. After a few minutes, somebody just began to sing a song that was on their heart. And man, the presence of God just enveloped us in a stronger way than I felt God moving in our worship services in a long time. And it was just pure. There was no entertainment element. There was no music. It was just the voices of God's people being lifted, not worried about entertaining or quality, but it was just a sincere praise unto God, and God honored it. And He met with us, and His presence was felt. In fact, the presence of God was so strong upon me that for the great majority of the singing, I couldn't even get words out because I was so overwhelmed weeping because of the presence of God. Just feeling that divine peace and that favor of God, and it was truly powerful. So after, I think there was 3 songs if I remember correctly. After that, we had everybody sit down and asked, what is God dealing with people about. Elder Franco gave a teaching. He began teaching on John chapter 6, and it was very good. And then a brother, after Elder Franco, another brother began to comment on some of those same verses and give his understanding of those verses. And that was a blessing as well, tremendous blessing. And then after him, I continued in the same vein, teaching on purity and purity of motives, how that our motives have to be pure before God, both in ministry and in everyday life. And everything that we do, we've got to start with pure motives. And I taught from a couple of scriptures about how to purify our motives, how to purify our hearts. And for those that are interested, the teaching portion of the service is recorded. When the elders do the teaching, we're going to record that and post those teachings on this same YouTube channel for anybody who might be interested in hearing the actual teaching. So just want to make you aware of that. After I taught, a few more of the saints, maybe 4 or 5 more of the saints chimed in and shared what God had been dealing with them about. A brother shared a vision that God had given him concerning our church the previous day on Saturday. He came Sunday and shared that vision with the church, and it was, man, a major blessing to hear, you know, what God is speaking to him, how this transition is going to play out. And man, it was powerful. It was all so good. It was all so very good. And at the conclusion of the service, we gave an opportunity for people to, if they had needs, to come forward. And there were, I think there were 3 people that came forward with needs, you know, physical sickness in their bodies. And the elders gathered around, of course, and then the saints gathered around. If it was a sister that came for prayer, the sisters gathered around her. If it was a brother who came for prayer, the brothers gathered around him and laid hands on him, and we all prayed together. And that's how service ended, with that unity of lifting one another up, seeking God on behalf of one another's needs. And it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful time of community and unity, true unity, not tolerance, but true unity in the Spirit. And so my heart is just full. I don't have any other way to describe it. It met and exceeded every one of my expectations. You know, one of my concerns going into this was how it would flow. You know, would we get to certain points in the service and it would be kind of an awkward silence while we're waiting on somebody else to speak? But it wasn't like that at all. I mean, one right after the other, people stepped up and gave what was on their heart, and it just flowed seamlessly, literally seamlessly, one right from the other. From the time we started praying, the songs flowed seamlessly, the exhortations flowed seamlessly, the teaching, we tapped into the Spirit, the flow of God's Spirit, and God moved through His people just like He said He would. So that was one of my major concerns, is how would it flow, and it flowed very well. One question that I have been asked that I do want to try to answer on camera so that everybody's aware is, we've been asked, why are we not recording the entire service? And the reason for that is we don't want to make the saints at our church feel any sort of restriction from being used by the Spirit because they're worried about a camera. We don't want to put a camera in everybody's face in a setting, in an atmosphere like this where people are being sensitive to the Spirit of God, and they're not used to cameras. We as elders are used to. We filmed our services, put them on YouTube and a local TV station here in Raleigh for years. So we're used to the camera. It doesn't bother the elders at all. But some of the other people in our church would be concerned about that, and we don't want to put that type of pressure on them. So that's the reason why we're not filming the entirety of the service and posting that on our YouTube channel. I hope to, at some point, maybe film clips of different portions of the service so that you can get a feel for what's actually going on in the service and you can see it firsthand. So I hope that will be a blessing to you. But yeah, that's why we're not filming the whole service and placing it online. Is we don't want to hinder anybody or make them feel pressured about speaking publicly. You know, that's difficult for some people, and we don't want to put any unnecessary barriers in front of anybody. We want everybody to be used. That's the entire purpose of going back to this biblical way of doing churches, so that every person can be used in their gifts, and we want to remove every barrier to that if at all possible. So if you've got any other questions about why we're doing things like this, then please just hit me up. You can email me. You can reach out to me through any of the social media sites, Facebook, Instagram. The email address is authenticchurchraleigh@gmail.com. So email me anytime with your thoughts, your concerns, your questions. We'll be more than happy to address them, answer them as best we can. And don't forget to like, share, comment on this video, both on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Help us out, help us to get the word out. If you've got friends who might be interested in the way we're now doing church, turn them on to what we're doing here on our social media sites, and make it available to them as well, so that they can follow along in our journey of transitioning from the modern church structure back to the biblical church structure. So I think that's all for this video. I'll wrap it up. We're going on 10 minutes here. I'll wrap it up here, but you can expect a video from me next week. I'll do another recap of how that particular service goes over the weekend. And I appreciate everyone's love and support. So many people have reached out to us, letting us know that they're praying for us in this transition. And we truly appreciate that. That's a major blessing. Thank you for your support. And until next time, grace and peace be multiplied unto you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.